what is this? Is it scales? Is it this? Does it look like there's a weirdness to it. But whatever.
I like it. You know what I would actually say is I think it's like from her point of view. It's like he sparkles because he's the one, because she's in love with him. That's how she sees him, right? It's an emotional thing, you know?
Yeah, let's go up through the cloud cover and find this one over the rainbow spot, like a leprechaun sits there with a pot of gold where the light shines just in this one area, and he knew it was going to shine in that one area. I don't know. There's a little thing. I think a lot of the other stuff works.
Yeah.
That one I'm always just like, okay, sparkle's going to come for this is going to last 35 seconds. We're going to sparkle and then we're going to move on.
Also, I mean, in a movie where these two don't really kiss very much, the whole idea is that they're not supposed to be physical with each other. He's trying to
Right.
stay away from her. It's more about the emotion. It's more about the falling in love. And so that scene is elevated because of the sparkle, because instead of just making out or whatever, they can't have sex. In a traditional romance, that would have been the scene where they have sex for the first time.
Well, the sex for the first time is the make out on the bed, which is really,
Yeah,
really a good one
yes, but
shot.
but he also pulls away. So there's
Right,
also
right, right.
like,
And they hold that for a while though, and there's a lot of tension. And then when he pulls away, you could see that she's like fired up. It's a very interesting sequence.
I think it's genuinely sexy. It's like during that part of the movie, I was like, wow, like this is a movie about high school
It's,
kids, but like they're on the
yeah.
bed, she's half naked, she's in her underwear.
I mean, he's been around 107 years. The guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Anyway.
They don't chase clout, they just chase the lore. Dig scenes that the mainstream ignores, where light fights dark in a fabled war. Yeah, the truth gets told when the movie's born. I'm the break in the flicker, the cut in the edit, the blade through the credits, a frame they embedded. Light in the distance, persistence poetic. The dark is a prison, I brighten with aesthetic. No stunt doubles, I tumble through trap fights. The scripts in my soul, I control when my track spikes. Whisper in a reel, I reveal with a black light. The dark is a canvas that I carve with a flashlight. Call it a war cry, cinematic spark. Puzzle in the shadows, a code of the art. It's Andrew and Greg and the legacy embarks. Our voices ignite and we light up the dark.
Twilight, 2008.
Yep.
Catherine Hardwicke masterpiece.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Just two guys talking Twilight.
Two guys talking Twilight, almost 20 years later.
Just
all
totally
right.
normal.
So do we want to preface this with the fact that this is your wife's? Is it her favorite film?
Yeah, I would say it's up there. I think she has like sentimental childhood favorites. Like Spirited Away is always one that was. It's like her childhood movie.
We talked about that early on. That is on the list, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have it next year on her birthday actually. So
Perfect.
yeah.
So you're saying this is her teenage years film?
Yeah. This one is her like the sexual awakening period. Yeah.
The young adult, as they refer to it in the book world, the Stephanie Meyer young adult teen angst, female teen angst. We're gonna go into Twilight. We're gonna go deep into Twilight here. Let's see where that goes.
Yeah, it's probably her favorite movie. I think she talks about this movie more than any other movie. Yeah. So
and after watching this, or after rewatching this with her, you guys have now moved on today to watching New Moon, the sequel.
Well, I didn't realize that I got myself into that.
Right. You're now screwed for the next week.
Yeah, because what happened is I originally had The Shining in this spot for the podcast, but then we realized
makes total sense switching The Shining with Twilight.
two films of equal quality, but
they're neck and neck.
Yeah. We then realized The Shining might go two-part. It might be 2 episodes, so it might we might need like back-to-back weeks. Yeah, and we can't have next week for The Shining because next week is your pick, which is Halloween. So yeah,
And
we
yes,
can't
and we're
interrupt that.
trying to stick to getting that out in October, and, the month of October
Yeah.
being Halloween makes sense to do the original John
Yeah.
Carpenter.
Yeah, so I ended up having this open week this week, and I was very torn. I had a lot of options I could pick, and I just happened to ask Hazel, and she's like, "Twilight?"
She
She's
got
like,
so
yeah.
excited, as one might say.
She got so excited, and it seemed like the perfect week for it because it was right before Halloween. We're gearing up. We're doing these, kind of spooky type movies, and next week we're doing Halloween, and then The Shining is kind of a carryover. That'll end up being November, but it's kind of a carryover because it's for Halloween. And so we had this perfect gap, and I thought if I were ever to pick Twilight, it would actually be this week. And her face just lit up, and I thought, I can't, how could I say no to that? So, and then little did I know, of course, we watched the first one, and then the credits are rolling, and she literally turns to me and she's like, "Next one, New Moon? Like, let's play it." And so then had today we watched half of that one. So now I'm in for 5 movies.
So basically, as soon as your projector was broken for a week, for people who don't know that, finally you get your projector lamp back, you fix your projector, and it's just going to be nonstop Twilight.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I signed up for by doing this for the podcast, yeah.
Okay.
So, she's funny because I asked her, I said, "Do you wanna come on the episode?" And she says, "No, I just wanna listen to the episode. I just wanna listen to you 2 guys talk about Twilight."
Yeah,
So
some
I'm
sort of
like, "Okay." Yeah,
sadomasochistic thing that she wants to put you through.
yeah. I was like, "Sure, okay." It sounds I don't 100% know why, but I guess we're doing it.
It's interesting. I'm trying to think of where to start out with this one because I almost want to talk about a little bit of kind of like what 2009, that time period or whatever. Like this seemed like it hit us at the time, people like you and me. I don't want to speak for you on this, but people like me when this was coming out at the time in the theaters. Like I did not go to the theaters to see this movie. This was not like, "Oh, I'm going to go see Twilight." It was, I was out of, film school, been over for 4 years or something like that, and, I definitely was in that mode of just like, "What is that teenage stupid movie?" Like, that was my thought process, at the time, you just, what is horribly color graded blue-green teenage movie? I'm not seeing that. That was my 2000, 9 version of Greg, seeing posters out of his purview in New York City going like, "Not watching that." So almost starting there, what was your, initial, viewing or knowing of this movie?
Wow, what a question. Um,
Opening
I
day, tickets
yeah.
bought 3 months in advance, you're online, you wanna sit front row, that was you?
Funnily enough, my friend, by the time the 3rd one came out, I had a buddy in film school who he said to me, he's like, "Dude, midnight show, opening day, like, for the 3rd movie." He's like, "Let's go, me and you." And I was like, "What? Like, why?
For
What's wrong with you?"
Eclipse. This was
Yeah, yeah.
2010.
Yeah, for Eclipse, and he said and I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "I did it last year." He said, "I went to the midnight show, and it was all teenage girls and middle-aged moms," and he said they were screaming. He's like, "It was the wildest movie experience I've ever had." He said, "You have to experience it. Let's go at midnight."
And had you seen the other 2 before then?
But, yeah, I had, yeah, back then, I mean, it was a phenomenon, so, like, I
It was,
watched the
that's
movies.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I kinda wanna mention that too. It was like, literally, it's 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It was every year a movie or a part had come out, and it was just nonstop. You couldn't escape this thing, at all. Like, the first movie, when they thought that it came out, they were like, "Oh, this could do okay." It had a little $37 million budget, but, no giant stars in this thing. Which many, horror type films, even though this isn't exactly horror, but it's a mixed little genre thing. 37 million budget made $400 million. Like it became a phenomenon, date type movie, whole thing, and then it just became a fucking the saga, the Twilight saga. This thing exploded at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, cultural phenomenon. Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson just were everywhere. So yeah, I watched them just out of curiosity. I didn't think anything of it. I just watched them. I was like, all right, whatever. That was a movie, I guess. I didn't care. But girls loved it. It's for the girls.
Loved it.
Yeah, it's for the girls.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I I don't remember my first viewing, but I'm pretty darn sure it was, on TV. It was not a theater for the first one. I did go to one of the other ones. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe I even went to two of them. I don't know. Dating girls at the time, it was one of those things you get brought into. I'll just say overall, I'll just say, we're gonna get into it. I did come to like the first movie. There's something about
Ooh.
this movie that's a weird guilty pleasure to me. And I don't know. We're gonna explore kind of why, because I was watching it last night through that aspect of I'm able to view this type of movie. I think when I view this type of movie in that way of going like, okay, it is, this is my first thing to preface it, the first thing of when this movie came out, I did not know that Catherine Hardwicke had anything to do with it when I was seeing those posters. But I had seen 13, and I really liked 13. I was like, that's a fucking good director. The actress in that, who ended up being in Twilight, Catherine Hardwicke had written 13 with that girl. And I was like, oh shit. And the girl was 13 at the time when they were writing it. And I was like, shit, this fucking movie, she has something to say. This is a powerful film. And then separately from that, seeing these posters of Twilight, I never connected that she had anything to do with it. So I believe when I realized that, I was like, wait a minute, Catherine Hardwicke directed this Twilight movie and it's blowing up? I think that's when I probably got the rental of this and had seen it. And I, right from the beginning, was like, okay, this is not 13. Uh, but there was something weird where this is before the cultural phenomenon, because as the sequels came out, I started hating all of them. But I had this weird soft spot when I first saw the first one, and I was like, "This is interesting. This is better than it should be," is what I kept kind of thinking. And I was, fighting it, going like, "Huh, okay, yeah, there's some cheesy stuff," but I'd get drawn into it a bit, going like, "Why is this movie working? And why am I like guilty pleasuring this movie right now?" And I had that, and I've watched it many times since then of just in the background. It's perfect. I'm gonna edit or do something else. I haven't watched it actually in, a couple years, but a couple years ago, it would be like, "Oh, put it on the background. It's not gonna be distracting. It's just over there. It's very blue and green, and they're, doing weird stuff." And then I'd be able to not be distracted, and it was a comforting background. Not My Cousin Vinny, not A Weekend at Bernie's, but it was okay. In that realm.
Yeah, I mean, good director. And yeah, I agree with you. Watching Twilight again, finished it last night, and I agree with you. Guilty pleasure. I don't even know if at this point you'd call it a guilty pleasure. I feel like it's just a pleasure. I think it's actually a really fun movie. Back at the time, I didn't really care one way or another. I remember girls loved it, and then young boys had this real hatred for it. Like, they were torn, like, boys didn't know what to make of this. They're like, "Girls are going crazy for it. Why?" I don't know what's happening, but we hate it, It's like Robert Pattinson's getting all the attention from the girls that we want attention from. So, yeah, and I mean, he became like a total heartthrob. I mean, that's like a huge reason why Hazel loves the movie, is she's like Robert Pattinson. I mean,
Yeah, that was very much in the same type of craze for like Hayden Christensen Episode 2 Star Wars type thing that had happened not that long before that, but it reminds me of that same type of, teenage cover magazine type things. The internet was still pretty new. YouTube was out there and stuff, but it isn't what it is today. So you still walk by, these teen covers of things, and Pattinson was everywhere.
yeah, and Hazel actually really loves Hayden
Hayden
Christensen
Christensen, of course.
in the prequels as well. Yeah, when I
Of
remember I
course.
played them for her, and she's like, she didn't like the original ones, but she's like, "These prequels are great." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Well,
Why?
because the guy is so handsome." And I was like, "Oh, I see. Okay."
Here we
Yeah, she's like,
go.
"I'm drawn to this dark, brooding, tall, handsome young man." And let me say something about Robert Pattinson because I know if Hazel listens to this episode, she's like, "You have to say this," because Hazel told me something about Robert Pattinson. She said Robert Pattinson took this role incredibly seriously. He
Oh,
didn't
yeah, you could
play it,
tell.
yeah, yeah, he didn't play it like, "Oh, this is a teen, romance, like melodramatic romance,"
I think he
like
takes all of his roles that way.
he does. And Hazel told me that when Robert Pattinson first signed on to the film, he thought he was doing like a little indie movie. He didn't know that this was gonna blow up and become a giant multi-film
Right.
franchise. He thought he was signing up for the next Catherine Hardwicke film, you know? And so he just took it really seriously as like this little indie movie. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna make it weird. I'm gonna make it quirky. I'm gonna play this teenage vampire guy and I'm gonna give it some nuance and I'm gonna give it some real character. And I think because he did that, it became so interesting, you know? And it was, again, the perfect role for him too, because just
Yeah.
when you look at his face, I mean, his face, it's like nobody looks like this guy. Like, he just looks like this otherworldly vampire guy.
And I think for him as an actor, this series became a curse for him because I think as an actor, he did not want to be doing 5 of these fucking movies. Kind of in between or right after he started doing, let me go back and kind of do this indie thing where I'm in the Twin Towers at the end of the movie. Let me do some non-roles that are like this because I don't think that he had plotted his career going to do all these sequels to this. And there's a lot of,
Yeah.
the two of them ended up dating and there was a push for that and the whole whirlwind of this Edward thing and this and that. I think he was just like, I kind of might have wanted to go the way of, taking himself seriously like a next DiCaprio. And he's kind of like, I'm doing Titanic Part 5 right now. You know what I mean? So I think there's a little bit of that in his actingness that goes on through these films where he probably really was just like you said, he didn't know that this was going to be that. He thought he was going to be an Arthur Hardwick film, and now you're just like, dude, you're in this whirlwind where every teenage girl and her mother loves you, and he's like, am I being taken serious as an actor here? Like, I think there's
Right,
there's some of that
yeah.
in his real life.
Yeah, he just became like the heartthrob and not, an actual respected actor.
And I
Yeah.
think he's fought against that. He took Batman very seriously. Like he's been trying to go against that type. He hasn't gone like, oh yeah, I'll just be in my 30s. I'll just be doing the heartthrob thing for the rest of my life. He's very much tried to go against that since that time.
Yeah. I remember in our very first episode, I don't know if you remember this, when we did A Complete Unknown, the first podcast we ever did. At the end of the conversation, we started veering off, and I think you had asked me about Timothée Chalamet's performance, and so we were talking about, like, great modern day actors, and you
And
said,
you
"Who do
said
you think?"
Batman.
You asked me, "Who do you think is gonna be, like, the next Daniel Day-Lewis?" And I said, "Robert Pattinson."
You could do it.
Yeah, I think as his career has gone, you can
Yeah.
see that, and I think that that's the power of a great actor, is it doesn't matter, is this movie is what catapulted him to stardom, but then it's where do you go from there? And
Yeah.
then, he's able to just completely carve out this unique career. And the other thing about him is that he had to actually come from underneath kind of being labeled as, "Oh, you're just the Twilight kid."
Right.
And so he wasn't even starting out from 0. It's like he's starting out from kind of being a little bit of a joke, and now it's like he has to prove himself extra. So watching his career and watching how, especially from a male point of view, how a lot of the male viewers that I've heard from have started to come around and say, "You know what? This Robert Pattinson, he's actually a great actor." And it's like he's now gained male fans.
Yeah.
And so I think good for him. Yeah. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
phenomenal. He's able to just disappear into characters. He's one of those actors, he changes his voice, he changes the way his body moves, his accent, and he's able to transform. And I think he actually did that in this role. I think he took Edward Cullen as a character and he transformed into that character. And it just so happened that that character was incredibly appealing to women, but he didn't want to go that, matinee idol route. He wanted to go more of the Daniel Day-Lewis, serious actor route.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
so that's good. We got that for Hazel, and then now ask Hazel, why when he goes because he's doing weird quirky things. Why when he comes into school when we first get introduced to him does he take two fingers and place them on the table as he sits down?
You
Can we ask
mentioned
her
the two
this?
fingers.
Yes,
Okay, I'm so glad you mentioned it because Hazel loves that moment. I don't know
I
why,
know
but
it's
she
so weird. It's so weird.
yeah, I can't explain it
It's
other
like, is there
than
static electricity, or is he like feeling these things? It's just it's so strange.
uh,
Like he's so maybe it's like when we're like weak humans, so we have to use our whole hands to sit down. And he's just like, I just need my two fingers. Like it's something so strange about it.
yeah.
It's definitely some deep actor. It's some deep actor weird thing where he's got a reason, and Hardwick's just like, just let him do the two fingers. He knows what
Yeah.
he's doing. Let him have it.
Yeah, he's like, "Catherine, how about I come into this scene? I sit down using two fingers." She's like, "You know what? Just go for it. Whatever,
Go for it,
man."
buddy.
Yeah,
As long as your hair looks good. Can we make sure his hair's looking
right.
good in this scene?
Yeah,
Yeah, do the
just
fingers.
more hairspray, whatever you want with the fingers, yeah. I just thought it did create this kind of elegance, it's just like that there's something off about him. He's a little bit different. It's like the way he sits down is like, again, almost like animalistic. It's like there's something a little bit inhuman about him. So, little details like that. That's what I'm talking about, where he created that feeling as an actor,
Yeah.
with these little quirky details.
There's a lot of crossover in this film, especially with them doing like Splendor in the Grass, lying around with these, crane shots. I was watching that last night because this last night's the first time I watched it as like, let me study this. Let me watch it as a movie that we're going to talk about on the podcast. Let me look at the shots. Let me look at the decisions that the director made. I think prior to that, I never looked at that. I never looked at the wide angle lenses. I never looked at some of the handheld she's doing. She is bringing some of the aspects of herself from 13 and her directing style into parts of this that is what I responded to this, and this was the first one of the movies that I had seen. And when I saw all of the sequels, she didn't direct any of those, and I never really looked into it until we were going to do this podcast. So I looked into it, going, who directed these sequels, and then why didn't she direct these sequels? They were so quick after that. So something very interesting about her. I found a quote of her saying, she didn't want to just, quote, rush into something I didn't believe in creatively because the studio said, hey, we want to ride this wave. We want to get this movie out next year. And she was like, I want more time. I want to do this right. I want more budget. I want to think of everything, and I don't want to rush this. And they said, all right, well, we're leaving you behind. And I didn't know that because I like this director, they got Chris Weiss, who directed About a Boy. And I didn't know he directed that until today when I was looking into doing the research. And I really like About a Boy. That is a background watch for me as well. I like the Hugh Grant whole thing in that. The Hugh Grant whole thing. The Hugh Grant's, whole character of this, weird, single rich guy who doesn't need to work and just is this lazy, child. I mean, About a Boy, he's a fucking boy. It's not the other boy in the movie. I always think
Oh,
about him being the boy. He's not a man in that film.
right.
So, but I like that movie. Um, to me, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, Part 1, Part 2, they all just get worse and worse. And they never got what Catherine Hardwicke kind of got in here. And I think she's got some sort of this interesting, playful innocence that's happening in here. And the movie just weirdly works. And I think all the other ones started getting more Hollywood typical polished throughout them. And I mean, I like the aspect in this one that is hinting at this whole werewolf thing. I get it's kind of like a part one of part five or whatever the fuck, but the hinting at that really works. And it's nice. And by the time you get the payoff, like or get these werewolf things in New Moon, it has a totally different tone. It's my problem with, hey, you changed the director, you changed, sure, they keep the
Mm,
same bad cinematography, but not as bad. Like I kind of like she leaned so far into this like look of it that it weirdly works for the movie. And then they kind of like took aspects of that away. We have in the sequels, the whole Edward's shown in the sunlight glowing in this one. They're in bright daylight in some of the fucking, sequels. This kid's not glowing. They just gave up on that completely. Like certain things that they'd set up in the opening, you're just like, it becomes non-congruent in the other films. I don't want to just start bashing them. I'm just kind of saying the weird thing that worked with the original doesn't work in the sequels.
Yeah, they kinda it became its own thing, you know? Yes, I think definitely what you're saying, the studio took it and, they ran with it and they turned it into a massive franchise. Just watching we turned on the second one today, and immediately you can just tell it has more money. I mean, it's bigger budget.
Yes.
They have
Yeah.
the CGI wolves and everything. The first one really has this amazing quality of feeling like an indie movie. It
Yes.
actually feels very low budget. Like, it has
Mhm.
this kind of raw, sort of handmade, directorial vision going on. You really feel like you're watching a movie made by a director, and that director is trying to create this portrait, and it has the
Yeah.
eye of, like you're right, like, all the choices. It's artistic. It actually feels artistic. It has a tone, it has a style, it has something to say. It's it's kinda like I don't know if I enjoyed it just because I was watching with Hazel. I mean, that helped a
Oh,
lot,
that'll
I'll
rub
say,
off
like
big. I mean,
yeah.
she's
Yeah.
who you view this with, especially as your wife, and she loves this, and she's probably was this the first time she was not on her phone watching something?
Oh my gosh, okay, so not only was she not on her phone, this was the first time that she ever rewound the movie because I was talking. I was like, "Oh, I commented on, something that just happened," and she goes, "Wait, rewind it, you missed that line. You have to hear that line." So we watched
Wow,
every
okay.
single frame of this movie, gave full attention to.
Every time you blinked, she paused, went
Yeah,
back a
yeah,
few
she's like, "Wait,
frames, play.
you blinked, yeah."
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, she loved it. So I think watching it with her helped a lot. I mean, that was really fun. I think if I was watching it just by myself, then it would be a different type of experience. Um, I might enjoy it somewhat just on a filmmaking level, but I think, yeah, having the interaction, that changed the experience for me. So I really had a great time watching it, actually. I just appreciated it for what it is, I wasn't trying to be like, "Oh, what is this movie for girls?" or whatever. I'm just like, I totally get it. It's a female coming of age story. It's done in this artistic way. The actors are just fantastic. I mean, the 2 leads we can definitely talk about because I just kept thinking these 2 leads are just amazing. Just the casting choice of these 2.
Casting is a big thing I do wanna mention
Huge, yeah.
100%.
And then the thing that really I think was my favorite thing was the artistry. By the end of the movie, I started making a connection in my mind. I started realizing it's got this Pacific Northwest location, and the movie's got this blue quality, and it's vampires, and it's sexy, and it's dark, and it's emotional. And I realized this movie's very rock and roll. It has this kind of like indie rock and roll quality to it. The Pacific Northwest, Seattle, right? That's where
Yeah.
famously lots of rock and roll bands come from that area. So it's a rock and roll area.
He's got the wrist cuff on him.
Yeah, he's kind of rock and roll. She's a little bit rock and roll, she's not like a girly girl.
But he drives a fucking Volvo, which is really funny to me. It's like that's some product placement choice. I mean, it's not only just he drives the Volvo, to come rescue her, he rides around the corner at high speed doing a donut in a fucking
Yeah.
Volvo. It's like, dude, they must have some reason why they picked a fucking Volvo. Because I'm like, this isn't like some cool fucking Mustang or, he's 109 years old. It's not like some fucking cool 70s car or some shit. It's a fucking new
Yeah.
Volvo. And I'm just like, where did the studio be like, listen, we've got this thing, we can get some free cars here, and they're gonna pitch in 60K if we really do some close-ups on the Volvo, which is just a funny side note that
Uh,
always sticks out to me in this.
That might be where the low budget aspect comes from, because actually Hazel said the same thing. She noticed how the Colons are really like the rich kids of this school, and so they have like this appeal, this draw where it's like, oh, who are they? And some of them do drive some nice cars and they dress really nicely. And then when he pulled in with that Volvo, even Hazel said to me, she's like, "Well, that's not a nice car." She's like, "Why is he driving that car?" So yeah.
He's a simple man. The yeah, and then just to mention the director thing. So, Eclipse after that, again, they changed directors and they went to, the guy who directed Hard Candy, which was another, like, really interesting film, and then I get why they picked him with 30 Days of Night. But it's again, you're changing directors. I don't remember if the tone changes that much from New Moon to Eclipse, but I do remember I didn't like these and they were getting played out and getting worse. And then you had Breaking Dawn, which weird. I looked up that and I was like, oh, this guy
Yeah.
directed Gods and Monsters. I was like, okay,
Yeah, I mean, nothing against those directors, but it does look like they kind of inherited this successful franchise. Like you said, they have to make the movies very quickly. They did the same thing on the Harry Potter movies too, where you have to release them in such quick succession. You almost don't have time for the same filmmaker to just start from scratch on pre-production for the next film and get it out within a year. That's not going to
yeah,
work. It's like the director has to be working on the sequel while the other movie is still in production.
yeah.
So, it's just kind of the nature of these things. I mean, it's a giant franchise, that's just how it goes, but I
Yeah,
think it
it's a business.
yeah, but I think it adds in a weird way, it kind of adds to the appreciation of this particular film because when
Yes.
you go back and you watch this film, you realize, "Oh, this is where it all started. This is why Twilight is what it is because Catherine Hardwicke had this vision for it." And obviously, yes, the book and the writing of the book, the story, I mean, the story is just ripe for appeal to teenage girls, and then the actors, like I keep mentioning. So,
Yeah.
there's lots of reasons the movie clicked and worked, but it is fun, I think, to go back and watch this one and say, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is the good one," quote, unquote. This is the one where it's like a real filmmaker, and like I said, she really brought, like, artistry to it.
Yeah. What struck me when watching it last night, I got to watch it. I'm still back in Connecticut. I'm going back to New York tomorrow. Shoot on Monday, and but I got to watch it with the parents, which was interesting because my mom kind of
Okay.
had like, oh
Wow.
God, what is this? We're gonna be watching Twilight. I don't even think she ever saw it. She just knows of them and maybe saw part of like New Moon out of nowhere or something like that. It's just like, what is this? What are we gonna be watching?
Okay.
By the end, though, she was in agreement with it. "Oh, this is not bad. This is not bad." And my
Ah.
dad enjoyed it as well, having not,
Wow.
seen anything about it.
Even dad.
So and they had that same thing where it's not like it's not great, but they had that, "It's better than it should be." Like, this
Yeah.
should not be good, and they should not relate to it or wanna watch it, but even from the beginning, I was watching it going like, the CGI deer for a movie like this coming out, it's not one of the other ones. Right off the beginning, I was like, they look pretty good. I was like, that's even like the attention to detail that I think running out and hugging the deer was really silly. In the ending
Yeah.
of that before the thing comes out
It's
there,
a little
the deer
opening,
hug.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a little
it's a
something to me, but
opening tease. It's like, okay, there's a hunter, there's a killer out here in these woods. These woods are dangerous. They look beautiful, and Bella could be the deer. She's the little innocent young creature and potentially being hunted. So that little opening is almost like a metaphor for the entire movie.
pretty
Yeah.
good. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
so
That's I like it.
so, yeah, you get this little tag and it kinda sets the tone and yeah, you're brought into, yeah, to the Pacific Northwest world. I thought that was something that I loved right away is the location is very beautiful. You have this forest,
Right.
yeah, this forest and it's the rain and, there's, like, rivers and lakes and lots of water and very green, and it just looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's I could keep talking.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
your descriptions are great. This is
yeah. That's one thing I really enjoyed. I mean, there are a number of things I enjoyed. I could just say, like, I could, like, kinda list them and be like, I feel like this works, this works, this works. A lot of things work. I mean, there's this aspect of, like, the mid-2000s. I kept thinking MTV the movie has this very, like, MTV quality of almost looking like a music video or something.
Oh, it's, cinematography-wise. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and but that's where the rock and rollness comes in, where I was like, in a way, I kinda like that because it has this, like, evanescence, kinda coolness to it, this emo it's very teenage
It's
girl, very
emo,
emo.
teenage angst, they've got my
Yeah,
mom's left has got this other boyfriend, I'm here with dad in the woods, and I'm the outsider who doesn't know anybody in this town, told from the girl's perspective, and we have voiceover in it,
right.
which I'm glad they didn't do too much of, apparently, 'cause I looked up the book is
Yeah.
read all from her perspective, and it's kinda like the book
Mm.
is a whole voiceover from her, so I like that it was peppered in there. But one time it came back and I'd forgotten about it. It was like 40 minutes, no voiceover, and then it's just like, "Oh, voiceover's coming back." I was like, "Okay," but it still worked. The opening when she goes in with the dad, what really hit me this time, because I was watching it like a film, was when she goes up to her room with her dad. That sequence, the music drops out, the voiceover's done, and it's just kinda holding in this handheld shot that's looking through the doorway, and there's just this awkward moment where, like, he doesn't know what to say, he doesn't know how to leave the room yet, and I was just like, "This feels really real." That's where that, like, indie cool type feel where you're like, they're not just rushing through the scene and just doing quick, stupid over the shoulders, get it done, and it's just this TV cutting. It was like a director who made choices in this, and that comes through here much more than any of the sequels to me.
Hmm, that's a good point. The movie does have a coolness, no pun intended. It's visually, like you said, color graded to have a cool tone, but the movie has this rock and roll cool quality. And I think you're right. I think that the way the scenes are rendered, it's actually really well done. Like the characters feel very real and you feel this nuance, It's like the actors are all fantastic. So, the dad I thought was great. He's
He's
so
great. Yeah, yeah,
awkward.
he's great.
Yeah, he has this awkwardness and so you feel the emotion. And that right off the bat, that's what I wanted to mention is that I feel like the movie works on this level of being a teenage girl coming of age story. And so right away you start off and she's a child of divorce. She's from a broken home and she's in this place in her life filled with turmoil where she's moving to a new location and so her entire life is turned upside down and it's very hard and so it's like she's not just a teenage girl in high school, which is hard enough, but she's also going through a lot of personal struggle. And so the movie starts with that tone and that style and that feeling, and I think that's where a lot of girls probably immediately before the cute boys even come into the story, you have this very relatable, very well rendered drama, of this teenage girl who's from this broken home and she's in this new place.
The setup's good. Yeah.
Yeah, the setup I thought was actually great.
And you're following this with her for the first time. So it's interesting that that aspect of it too. She's thrown into this new thing right from the beginning. You're with her finding out about this town. And it's a good setup.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the voiceover and, it's very poetic. She talks about death, she says, what does she say? Oh, Hazel quoted it to me. Hazel knows every line. Hazel quoted me the exact number of people in the town of Forks. She's like 3,270 or whatever the number was. I'm sure I got it wrong.
Right. Right now, when she's listening to the podcast, she's like, "You got it wrong, you moron."
But, Bella at the beginning, she says something about death. She's like, dying in the place of someone you love seems like a good way to die.
Yeah, she says
So
that she repeats that line at the end of the movie when she's going to sacrifice herself, or she thinks she's going to sacrifice herself for her mother.
right, exactly. So it opens with, this kind of poetic voiceover, and then you have the references to death. And, that's what the movie's going to be about. So the movie kind of has this kind of poetic quality
Yeah.
to it. Eh, it is like life and death because then later when that comes back, like you said, she says that at the end, and then it's like she then has to go sacrifice herself And the way I thought of it is that, well, we can get to the end, but the way I thought of it is that her love with Edward is then tested. So it's
Mhm.
like they have to go through the test, that this is a love story where you watch them fall in love, but then the love is tested at the end. And I actually like that a lot, that it's not one of those love stories that's like, are they gonna get together? It's like, will they, won't they? That's not really the story. The story is they definitely will, but then will the world tear them apart? Are they strong enough to stay together? And yeah, I
And the tension
actually
of will she be turned or won't she? Or the tension of will he accidentally kill her or won't she? Like, there is a good amount of layers that's, uh,
yeah.
uh, in there tension-wise.
Yeah. Yeah, so the movie has, really, like, this emotional depth that I think a lot of teenage girls probably really connected with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that same scene I was mentioning about the father, the same kind of thing happens in the scene where Jacob's in, like, the little truck with her or whatnot. It's the same, it's
Mhm.
one handheld shot held from the side and no music again, and you just go like, "Hmm, this feels a bit, real." And that's again, I don't wanna keep bringing up the sequels, but it's very funny to watch the Jacob character in this and see it the way that I saw it the first time without then just jumping to the fact of just like, okay, we see him. I just picture him with short hair, jacked in the later movies, and like the obligatory, just like girl in audience shot where guy walks out jacked is like, oh my god, now he's the hot guy. Hey Bella, it's like I just that those the sequels just tarnish so much shit, but it wasn't as distracting. I just had a moment with that of like, okay, I see. Yep, I know where this one's gonna end up going. Black out the sequels to me, and keep coming back here because I did again like the way that she held that scene with the two of them. It's not like she's holding a shot for like 3 minutes and it's like an A24, but within the context of the film and what it is, she's getting across things and doing things that a regular audience member wouldn't notice, but it's working because of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I was struck by the movie had this real quirkiness. Like you're talking about, the characters being well rendered and the scenes, are well dramatized. And then I said the casting's great. Taylor Lautner as Jacob is great casting. And yeah, it's like those scenes, like the truck, you're saying, it's like, you're right, they feel very real. It feels like it has this nuance. It has like this teenage awkwardness to it in like a
Yes.
genuine way. And the movie's very quirky. It actually has these weird little moments. Like I think later, like you said, the Hollywood machine kind of took it over and kind of smoothed out a lot of the rough edges.
Yeah, the bumps are what made it interesting. The little bumps are what made it
Yeah.
some of her stuff overacting, the lip quivers and the weirdness and the swallowing, like, there is one of
Oh,
the things
okay.
when they're talking about, like, anaphase or whatever during that sequence, there is one of the most interesting I think when we get there, I'll kinda mention which one it was, but it's one of the most interesting choices as an editor/director slash director to be able to, like, leave that in, and I was just like, "Such a strange performance to pick for this." It's when she's talking about the rain, and he's asking about the weather, and she goes, "I don't like cold things, dead,
Any cold,
yeah,
wet thing.
any cold, wet thing," and she's doing so much that I was like,
Yeah.
"Is she trying?" Because I thought, like, "Is her character trying to make fun of him in this moment, and he's supposed to pick up on her?" It's like, but no, she
Mhm.
actually really doesn't like cold, wet things, like and it's like the actor's trying to find the way to perform I was just anyway, it was she's doing a lot in that shot, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's you only notice how much she's doing in those things when you kinda get drawn attention to it, and then you start noticing it a lot. But, it
Yeah.
still, in that weird way, it still works because it's kinda consistent for her character throughout the film. It's not just, like, once or twice, it's like that's her whole weirdness that she's got going on.
Yeah. That's a good example of exactly what I'm talking about, is the quirkiness, is a scene like that, it's a little weird. It's like it doesn't have, like, this perfectly written Hollywood quality. It
Right.
has, like, there's a weirdness, there's almost like a creepiness, and I think that's part of the appeal, is that Edward is a little bit creepy, and he's a little bit weird, and like the way he stares at her, and he's so intense, and he like covers his face, because he can smell her, and he's acting like a kind of like a psycho, and so you're watching it, you're like, is this romantic or is this just weird? But it makes it unique, and it makes it interesting, it makes it compelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that line, like you mentioned, like any cold, wet thing, like he asked her about the weather, and she's like, I don't even know what to say to that. And there's a genuine awkwardness between them, so you feel like there's this real chemistry. Like, even if the movie's a little weird, everything is actually feels deliberately weird. It's like everything's in the
Right.
same tone.
That's
The
it. That
movie's
you
the
nailed it with
movie's
that.
very yeah, the movie's very cohesive. It all feels like it was designed this way on purpose, because it's this reflection of the awkwardness of those teenage years.
Yeah, and the other thing that was very interesting to me about the opening of this movie, is how many people you're introduced to. You've got Bella, you've got the father, you get to the school, and then you've got that kid Eric or whatever. And there's an interesting Steadicam shot that like he walks over with her or whatnot. Then you've got the Mikey guy from volleyball. Then you've got Anna Kendrick who jumps into this thing, and you go like, oh, wait a minute, was this like one of her first? Like I was sitting there going like, first of all, she hasn't aged in like 20 years or something. I was like, she still looks the same nowadays. Um, and then they sit down, at the table or whatnot, and it's just like, all right, there's 5 friends now there, and we're all seeing how they interact with each other, and their stuff seems, fairly natural with the way that they act. And then it's like, all right, the Cullens are coming in here. And then you have to intro each one of the Cullens that are coming in, and they're dynamic and they're being built up, and it's like they're walking out like it is a WWE type thing. It's like, and the next one up is, it's like
Right.
comment on them, and the next one
That's
coming
great.
here. Oh,
And
here's their
now Alice
dynamic.
Cullen.
Yeah,
Right. And
exactly.
now Jasper Cullen.
Yeah, and here comes Jasper, the weird
Right.
one. And it's like,
Right.
they have their own. There's the stereotypical kids in the school, and then there's the stereotypical people within the group of the vampires. Now, I think just to kind of high level mention here again, there's a certain kind of things that we do on repeat viewings we have to look at now. Um, this is a 107-year-old man trying to fuck a 17-year-old. Now, he's not trying to fuck her, he's just trying to love her and whatever the fuck, and they have this thing, but
Yeah, he's
somehow it's
actually not
interesting.
trying to have sex with
He's
her.
not
He's
trying
actually
to,
he's
but
actually
he's
trying very hard not to.
he's
Yeah.
yearning and this and that. I mean, but think about all of the problematic things that are kind of just to kind of get it out of the way. They're kind of in this movie. I was literally like, as I was watching, I was thinking about the cultural thing that you mentioned. All mothers and all women were responding to this thing, but nobody's addressing the fact that this is a 107-year-old guy who's lived a giant life experience, has an insane amount of power over her, watches her sleep, before they're dating, controls access basically to her friends, and just delivers, what safety things she should be doing. And he's constantly basically, framing the relationship as dangerous, and he'll never leave her alone. He has
Mm.
all of these predatory, problematic love bombing behaviors that everyone criticizes these days. But when put in the context of, oh, but he's pretty sexy, it's all okay. So there is an interesting dynamic that people just forget. Well, then what is it? It's bad for like a 60-year-old guy to date a girl who's 23, but a 107-year-old guy to go after a 17-year-old. Yeah, it's cool because he looks 17. You know what I mean? Like there is something interesting in there.
I think if Hazel were here, she would say that's part of the appeal.
Yeah, but he's hot.
Well, she actually likes all those things. That there's actually something appealing about that. Is that there is like this forbidden element, and there is this
Mm.
power dynamic. It's like the danger. We were watching it today, and Hazel kept saying like, "Oh, it's so dangerous," and I was like, "Why is that so appealing?" And she's like, I don't know. It just is because it's exciting." You know, it's like women love that. They actually this is part of the appeal, that all of the
Yeah,
things
so
you
he
just named.
pushes her up against the rock and puts his arms there, and it's the Bill Burr thing to me. Women love walls. A lot of up against the wall kissing. It's just like it had that all
Oh,
of those tropes. Like I see why,
women love
specifically the
walls.
women were into this stuff because it has all of those elements of the the cheesy 90s romance novels that you see with some giant dude against a mountaintop holding the woman. It has all of those within this teenage angst emo aspect that you're talking about. Like it's scientifically designed, probably story-wise, book-wise, to be exactly that. And I think the interesting thing that we're looking at is like Catherine kind of figured out a way to make that work within a movie. And that's the interesting part about this.
Yeah, yeah. I think in the same way that like a superhero story would appeal to a young boy, that's like you said, it's almost scientifically designed. So it's like there's something that this story is tapping into that's in a young psyche, the desire for where your life will go. What do you want in your life in the future? When you're young, you're a kid, you have no idea, right? Your whole future's ahead of you, and it's like, what do you want your life to be? And so stories kind of tap into that. And I think for women, there is this quality of wanting a man who's older, who's more mature, he's wiser, he's going to kind of help you, he's going to protect you, he's going to help guide you, somebody who is actually smarter and more capable.
But he's also dangerous. He's got that it's
Right.
got the you know what it is? It's got that Ted Bundy aspect to it. Like, women were still into Ted Bundy and writing him love letters and this and that, even though they knew he was a murderer, because he had this danger aspect, but he was also this quote unquote hot type guy or whatever the fuck. So there's tapping into that. Edward could kill you. He doesn't want to. He's got this love for you and he loves your smell, and he is love bombing her with everything, every fucking line that he's like saying at points with her, but then it's the no, I have to get away.
Yeah. Hazel was responding to that a lot. This idea of like he could kill you at any moment. That danger is very exciting because and okay, so this is actually kind of getting a little bit into something now because we talk about on the podcast about sex and death. Okay, so this idea that he could kill you, but he also desires you sexually, so much that he can't even control himself. And the line between those two is very thin, that he might take you sexually, but he also might cross the line and kill you by doing that. So it's like the danger of letting yourself be vulnerable, risking death, facing death, being that close to death is actually very exciting. It makes you feel alive.
It made me just realize now that probably Hollywood did this exactly on purpose, that the girls who are 13 to 15 who are watching this type of movie or whatever at the time, 8 years later, they'd be old enough to go watch 50 Shades of Grey. And they said, we're going to get that audience with the same themes now for this Christian Grey guy who's not Edward, but he's rich, powerful, and he's got a weird kink where he's dangerous and wants to whip the shit out of you.
You know what? That's a great point. You're right about that. I think you're right. I think it was almost like the graduation, like the evolution of that.
They said, there's an audience here. We can get some money out of them.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And they did the same thing. Let's make a bunch of sequels out of that too.
Yeah, and wasn't 50 Shades of Grey, wasn't that Twilight fan fiction? Isn't that how that started?
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. I'm pretty sure that the writer of 50 Shades of Grey actually based it on Twilight. I'm
Oh,
pretty
really?
sure.
Then it perfectly makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's essentially the adult evolution of Twilight. But here's the difference is that Christian Grey is not a vampire. And so it takes out the fantasy element.
Yeah. He's just a weirdo who wants to beat the shit out of you.
Right. And I remember I watched 50 Shades of Grey with Hazel, and I thought, I actually kind of liked the movie, but I thought Christian Grey he's a weird character because he's like this boy and he has these issues. He hasn't grown up. He's super rich, but he's like in his mind, he's really young.
He's got all his mommy issues.
Yeah, he doesn't feel mature. Whereas Edward, even I can see the appeal, where I'm like, I can tell that this guy has this coolness about him. You know, he listens to Debussy in his bedroom and he's super strong and super fast and he can protect you and he's almost like this superhero. And, Hazel responded to that a lot too. She's like, yeah, like riding on his back. She
Come
loves
on,
that.
Spider Monkey.
So yeah. So
Oh.
I think that vampire element, I think, was so genius, and that goes back to the book, I thought. While watching the movie, I thought, "This is actually a genius conceit." This idea of taking a young girl's coming of age story, her sexual awakening, and linking it with this modern day vampire story where it's vampires in the modern day. So they dress modern, and you change it a little bit. They're not afraid of garlic and they're not, burned in the sunlight. No, they sparkle in the sunlight like a diamond. And I also thought with that, I was
We have to talk about that
like
when we
like
get there,
women
yeah.
love diamonds too. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm like he's the perfect man. He's dangerous, he's rich, he's sexy, and he also
Eh,
sparkles like a diamond.
he shines bright like a diamond.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought, the connection of all of that, like it's the mythology, it's the same with any mythology. It's like Star Wars or Harry Potter, these writers are able to put these elements together in just a unique enough way that you've never really seen it before,
Yeah.
and it sparks and it ignites and it becomes its own thing. And I think that's what happened with this one.
Yeah. And they what's your take? No, no, because 'cause you're going deep. What's your take on, I mean, I do, it seems so out of the book, when she walks in, the fan is blowing, and then what I like about the shot is the paper flips up, which is a really just nice moment that the paper flips, and then it is kind of funny how quickly it makes it look like he wants to vomit because you're seeing it through her eyes. For him, he's trying to control this undeniable urge to run across the room and rip her, throat out and just drink her blood. But from her perspective, it is insanely
Right.
funny how it
Right.
looks like this guy just went, "I'm gonna fucking vomit." Like you smell so bad, I'm going to vomit. And like seeing it from her perspective is hysterically funny to me because that's how she's looking at it. And she's horrified at the fact of just like, oh, this Cullen boy who's been built up, and they're like, oh, they're all too good for us, and Edward Cullen's the hottest guy in school, and then immediately she walks in, and he's just like, I'm gonna vomit because I just saw you and smelled you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, is that's why I think it actually works, is because it has this weirdness to it, and,
Yeah,
their dynamic is great. I mean, their dynamic is like there's a genuine chemistry between these 2 actors as well, as you feel like he genuinely is drawn to her, It's like one of those movies where you have 2 romantic leads where they genuinely have this magnetic connection, and you feel them
yeah.
being pulled together. Um I was gonna say that I think every woman wants to feel desired,
Mhm.
So that idea of like he uncontrollably desires her is incredibly appealing. In the same way that like for us, like a superhero story of like Spider-Man gets superpowers and he's super strong and we love that as men, the desire for strength. And I think for women, the desire to be wanted is so powerful. And so when you have a story like this where this guy who's very appealing, he's uncontrollably behaving like that with her, where it's like he can barely contain himself.
And then he's also hot and cold, like, it's everything the woman in the teenage angst story would want. It's like, "Oh, I'm getting into, oh, no, now he's just walked away from me randomly. Oh, no." Like, the abusiveness of that is, the perfect thing that's gonna bring the heartstrings up and down and make her, obsess and not be able to stop thinking about this, this guy. Oh, quickly, just
Yeah.
to say, because to not leave that sequence as of yet, what do you think with the owl with the white
I
wings
noticed that.
behind him
I noticed the owl.
is there. So I wanted to know, what does Andrew think about the owl? What's the deep metaphor we're going? He's gonna be, you're gonna be like, this is Exodus 45:17. This is the owl of the
Uh,
bloodsucker is the da, da, da. You're gonna have something for this.
Well, I did notice that it was framed in a way that gave him these wings.
Yeah, it wasn't accidental. Like
Yeah.
it's like any DP or somebody sitting there is gonna be like, well, the owl thing, like it's purposely there.
At first, I thought he looked like an angel
Yeah,
because it was
exactly. Yeah,
the owl face was obscured and you just saw Edward and there are these wings behind him and
that's
they're
exactly
white.
it. Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, he looks like an angel. So it's like, that works because he is angelic. He glows and he's pale. He's also like he could be an angel of death as
Ooh,
well,
there we
So there's
go.
right,
There
yeah.
we
So there's that. So
go.
there's the dual aspect of the angel. But then when he moves out of the frame, then the camera shows it's actually an owl. And so I noticed that and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," because in our My Cousin Vinny episode, we talked about the symbolism of the owl because in that movie he goes to the cabin and there's an owl that's screeching. And an owl is and I actually did remark to Hazel, I'm like, "Oh, it's an owl." And I go, "Oh, that's interesting because the owl is very, it's a very symbolic animal. Of course, you have knowledge, you have the idea that they are the predators at night, they hunt. And so
Ooh,
it
their
right?
eyesight. Yeah.
Yeah, so it matches Edward really well.
And they're silent. They're the most silent bird that comes in and strikes and they barely move the air around them as they do it. They're the
Right.
ultimate predator. They're kind of the ultimate predator at night in the woods.
Exactly. And there's also this spiritual element that they are like a signifier of passing into another world. And they're also linked with death. And so Bella wants to die and she wants to pass into the world of the dead. She almost has this desire to die and to be dead, and to be with Edward. And so she wants to pass through into this other realm. And the owl is kind of like the symbol of the other realm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked that question.
Glad you asked me.
I'm glad I went into there. And the I guess the last thing that I'll leave this on before, it's the one last nitpicky annoying thing is the fact that, he tries to leave class. He obviously, goes through the procedure of going like trying to like get out of class because he doesn't want to smell her anymore because her
Right.
smell is too overpowering. He's gonna kill her and he's like, I'll just have to endure it, which again, from her
Yeah.
perspective, is so funny that she walks into that same little room there and all he hears is her going, he's like, I'll have to endure it. Like, and from her perspective, I'll have to endure this horrible, wretched smell from this girl that's sitting next to me, and I fucking hate her. So it's
Yeah.
it's
That's
just
great.
that on that level is hysterical. But
Yeah.
on the other level, it's just like he's 107 years old. They're all going to school every fucking day, taking the same tests every year. You get to their house, you get to see all the graduation caps. It's just like, number one, how boring is that? Number two, just be homeschooled. Like, just be the people that are home. You don't have to go to fucking high school for the
Right.
rest of eternity. You could also pass for a college kid and then just go to like a
Yeah.
college nearby and just skip classes or whatever the fuck. But it's like they're going to school every day. It's so absurd. Like it's a
Yeah.
giant plot hole that when you rewatch it, you're just like, guys, really? You're going to school and you're torturing yourself. You're around people that you want to kill all day and you're hungry. So it's like literally just like purposefully being starving yourself to death and then going to the most amazing buffet and not eating all day and just hearing the same thing every year. And you're like, yep, it's fucking anaphase. I get it. It's anaphase. You want to check it? I know this. I've done it for the past 100 fucking years. I've been taking it's all anaphase.
Right. Yeah. I think if Hazel were here, she would say, "Well, I mean, they have to do something during their daytime. I mean, what are they gonna
They have
do?
to do
They're
something
just,
during their
you
nighttime
know."
too, because he doesn't sleep. Like it's like, dude, I mean,
Yeah, right, right.
their lives would be so boring. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
that when you get bitten, you turn into a vampire, boredom, like you get a genetic change where boredom goes away, because that would be so fucking boring. A vegetarian, like the only thing that they get satisfaction of is physically drinking the blood of other humans, apparently, because he's like, we're vegetarians, but it's not good. It's like surviving on tofu, and we don't like tofu. So it's just like, okay, you're in this Zen type thing where you're always depriving yourself for 100 years, and you're going into torture yourself by going into this high school every day. So there's this
Mm.
weird monkish type, whipping yourself thing that's going on with all of them.
Okay, you know what? I actually do have a response to this because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about being a vampire. It is like a curse. It's like you're turned into this animalistic creature. You have fangs, you have a bloodlust, and it's for human blood. So you have to kill people constantly to feed, to satisfy your desire, to slake your bloodlust. And so you're going to be hunted inevitably because you're going to kill people. And then there's going to be some societal element of like the police that are going to come in and hunt you and say, oh, we found this dead body, and we're going to have an investigation. And that's what happens in this movie.
And then you got to move town, and they make it seem like that's a nightmare. Oh, when we move to
Well,
a town, we
yeah,
try to be as young as we are because think about it, you got to buy houses and do all this shit. It's a fucking nightmare.
exactly. Exactly. So I actually would say that the vampires, the Cullens in this movie, they're the good vampires, I think
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
why yeah,
That's what they're
that's
trying to do.
why they can be appealing. I think that's why this Edward Cullen character can be a romantic lead hero, and women can say, "Yes, we want to be with him," is because
Yeah.
he's not just a murderous, crazy vampire, So the fact that he has mastered that internal desire enough to at least live in civilized society, I think speaks to something positive about his personality.
But at least find a job that you like and pretend you're 21 and you can just go into the workforce and do
Right,
something interesting instead of sitting in high
right.
school for the remainder of eternity. Think about that. He's 100, but like Carlisle, Mike Dexter, is like 300 years old. So it's just like, dude, he's gonna be thinking for the next 1,000 years, I'm just gonna be going anaphase. Like it's the only thing where I'm thinking, like,
Yeah.
dude, find something better than hanging out at high school, which you obviously hate. They're too good for everyone. They like being at their own table. They don't want to be there. Do something else.
Yeah, the dad is a doctor, so he's actually a productive member of society, yeah.
Right. The dad's got something to do. The dad's got something to do. He's mastered something. He's like, yeah, kids, for the rest of eternity, I've saved you back from cholera or whatever the fuck it was, and now you're for the rest of eternity, all you're gonna do is kill deer and go to high school forever.
But I would actually say this is kind of an interesting metaphor for men in general, that you have, like, this killer instinct, that being a vampire is, in a way, a metaphor for just being a man. Be because it's like you have this killer instinct. The way women see it, I'm saying from, like, a woman's point of view, is
Right,
you
right,
have
right.
this stronger creature who has the potential to kill you, and he has this, like, desire for violence, and it's the men who can master that internal desire and be, a good man. Edward is a good man. He's protective of Bella. He loves her. He's loyal to her. So he has all of these great qualities. He's mastered the animalistic part of himself. And I think that's actually very appealing. So whether
Yeah.
he's, working a job or he's in high school,
Well, yeah,
either way, it shows that he can be a normal person.
right, but yeah, you're hitting it up again from a great point, which is, hey, this is why women are into him. I'm hitting it up from
Yeah.
his own internal point of why the fuck are you going to school every day, buddy? At least just
Yeah.
sit home and listen to fucking DiBiase all day or whatever the fuck you're doing. Like, do
Well,
something else.
he's clearly really into high school girls. So
Well, at least one of them.
yeah, so maybe he enjoys it. But yeah,
He's a
that's one of
sadomasochist in the
the
end.
yeah, that's one of the conceits. I mean, a lot of stories have this, like we talked about that on Batman Begins. A lot of these kind of fantasy stories have this, where there's always some element you kind of just have to go with.
Right.
You
No, no,
know?
you do. And I
Yeah.
think for first viewing, it's not even something that you question because what the interesting part about watching it this time and thinking about it is you do on a first viewing, you think that they could be the ones that are doing the murders, before you end up seeing the boathouse with Santa Claus die, you get to see a murder happen from below the docks, and you're like, "Oh, it looks like 3 people are killing him. Oh, that's probably the Cullens people." Like, that's what you're supposed to assume because you don't know there's these 3 other randos coming through that are vampires as well, feeding in their territory and fucking shit up for them. So you do
Yeah.
have a heightened sense of like, "Oh, these Cullens do go kill people." Like, and that happens for a bit there until Santa Claus goes out on the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, I thought that worked really well too. There's this element of like we don't know who the killer is.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Hazel said to me, she goes, the Cullens are like Western European. And then when the bad vampires show up, they're more like Eastern European. I thought that was kind of funny. And the bad vampires have like a low class quality. They're like more poor. The way they dress is like a little more kind of rock and roll style. And then the Colons are very refined and they're like rich people. So it's interesting. The way the movie frames it is very much like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. There's another element of that I thought was really interesting actually that I wanted to bring up because we probably won't talk about the sequels unless somehow we end up talking about the sequels, but I don't think so. But there's this kind of interesting element where the Colons actually are very European. And then the wolves, which don't come into it until really later in the story, not until the sequels, really. This movie's more vampire centric. This movie's more like the setup. It's meet the
Right.
Cullens. Later, you'll get into the wolves. But even in this movie, there is this dynamic where they hate each other. You can tell the vampires and the werewolves are at odds with each other.
Oh, yeah.
It mirrors the European settlers and then the Native Americans, that there's this conflict.
It's interesting, and we didn't do The Shining today, so we switched that for this.
Right, right. Similar to The Shining, this movie, I think, actually they're similar in the sense that they have that underneath the surface of the story, but very prominently, enough where it's very noticeable, where you can really tell.
We're relating Twilight to The Shining, something I never thought we'd ever do on a podcast in any way
Yeah.
whatsoever, besides the fact that they were both shot on film. Like, I never.
They both have actors, they both have a
They have
script.
actors, they used lights. Yeah.
Right. And they both have a subliminal undertone of the conflict between the white European settlers and the Native Americans in America.
Oh, and vampires are completely white. The skin, if you really think about that, it's
That's right.
over
And vampires are very associated with Europe, European mythology.
Count Dracul.
Yeah, exactly. Eastern Europe, Transylvania, right. So I just thought that was interesting because as the story goes, Bella has to choose where is her allegiance gonna go.
That sequence when she has to climb into, Jacob to keep warm in the tent. I don't know if you remember what movie
I don't
that
remember
was.
that.
Oh, you'll get to
No.
see that. They're on a
Okay.
mountaintop, and he has to cuddle her, and Edward is sitting there in the tent with them just looking like he knows that his skin cannot give her warmth, so and then they looking at each other, he's like, "Yeah, I got your bitch right here." Dude, it's so,
Okay.
like, it's Hollywood really going like, "Oh, let's milk this. Let's torture the audience with this one. They just show how much these 2 guys hate each other, but this one's gotta basically, like, kind of cheat on this person right here, but to do it in order to survive the night because it's so cold." It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
This let's keep it to Twilight, the original, sorry.
Yeah, I actually find that really interesting. I love that element of the story that it's underneath there. And so there's this like kind of push-pull of those themes. And Bella, it's like which one is she going to choose? And also those two guys have to find some kind of truce between each other as well. So it's like they have to find peace. And so, it's subtle, but it's like it's in there. I just thought that was cool. The movie has deeper things going on,
Yeah.
and I like that. Yeah. So there's it's not only the emotional element, it's not only like the A story, but then there's like this background element of the mythology of like where did these vampires come from? The vampire mythology, this age-old war between the vampires and the werewolves, and like there's this history to it. So it feels very alive, and I think
Yeah.
the writer did a good job with that, of like creating this new mythology and painting this portrait where you really believe, okay, this is a fantasy world that I can buy into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we're kind of up to the car accident scene, which he saves her life, which is a
Okay, yeah.
really, really cool scene.
Hazel loves that scene.
I really like that scene actually.
Yeah.
It is a cool. I mean, first of all, that kid's driving an insane whatever the fuck, who knows? But
Yeah, what is he
the
doing?
the the what is he doing? But the
Right.
shot of when he comes and then holds the hand out, and the cutting of that is a really well done sequence. And then the music goes that as he looks at her, and he has this look of like, oh shit, you've seen me. I've been forced to show myself right now, and that is, a no-no in the Cullens family. And then she's looking like, oh my God, what has happened? I'm in shock. What is going? And then he jumps up and goes over, and just it's a well done thing where in that moment, before this, again, we still don't know. Are these killer people? Are they whatever? And then you see, oh, he has saved her now. Now the audience is on a different roller coaster. And they're going, what was that about? What's happening here? And we've now seen their full, power of what they can do. The car being pushed away like that, which she even says, you pushed away the car. It is a cool, done through cuts, very cool, uh, uh, well done thing where the physics of it looks like it works. It doesn't look cheesy. Like some of the other stuff in there, the jumping, the running, the this and that, I think it still all pulls off good, but this specific effect really looks real, the push away of that car. And it kind of hits me each time I watch it where I'm like, it's one of those scenes where you're just like, if you're watching the back, or you're like, oh, I'm gonna look over and watch the push away of the car thing. Like it's a very well done.
Yeah. I'll talk about that, but I just want to mention quickly, I genuinely actually like the cheesiness of it.
I
There's
know
some
what you mean.
shots
I
where,
know what you mean.
yeah, there's
It's
some shots where like
consistent.
he,
It's consistent throughout the film as well, where he has that little slow-mo move, or when they're on the boat
yeah,
and they
yeah,
have the
yeah,
thing where the
yeah,
boat moves up real quick. Like it's consistently that
yeah,
way, where I get it as well what you mean with that. It doesn't throw me. I'm just saying that the car
yeah.
one is real.
Yeah, he'll jump and like they'll do this like blur motion thing, and you kind of look at it, you're like, what the heck? But then it's like, okay, yeah, it has this mid 2000s kind of, it's the style. Like that's what
I
it
was thinking
is.
it
And
would be
I
sillier
like it.
without
Yeah.
it, without it, because honestly, when there's the scene where they pull the boat in quick, I'm like, if you didn't put some a little effect on there, this would kind of look a little silly because it would just look like a regular speed up. Like, they filmed it and they're just like, oh, press 20x and make it come quicker.
Yeah.
With the little thing, it gives it.
Yeah.
It's the straight to DVD 2008 effect being thrown in there, but
Right.
it's in a a bigger movie than a straight to DVD thing, and you're right, it does weirdly work.
Yeah. There's a lot of moments where I did laugh. I mean, I was kind
Oh
of
yeah,
like, I was enjoying it, but I'm also sort of laughing because it is really silly and kind of weird. And there's lots of awkward lines of dialogue, and then some of the visuals are kind of cheesy looking. And so there were a lot of times where I would laugh, and Hazel would kind of look at me kind of mad. Like she'd be like, don't laugh at my favorite movie. But I said to her, like, no, actually, I'm not laughing at the movie. I'm kind of laughing with the movie. I'm kind of
yeah,
like laughing out of a joy. There's like a
yeah.
joy in this because it's like almost it's funny, but it's fun. There's something actually that is kind of fun and cool and kind of works about it. And I like that it's heightened. I like that it's not just vampire romance, let's do it more serious and let's not have him jump around. No, he's gonna jump and it's gonna blur. And it's like, I love the scene. I love the scene where he's perched in the tree and he's literally like perched and looking at her. And she's like standing underneath him, and
He's
just
like
the
he's like an
framing.
owl. He's like an
He's
owl.
like an owl. Oh, there you go. There
Uh,
you go. Okay.
gotta tell Hazel that one. We figured something
Ah.
out here.
We're putting the pieces together.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the bottom of this
Uh,
one.
Let me respond to the car scene. Okay, so I agree with you. And you know what I thought about that is I thought it's like a superhero movie. I
It is.
realized
That's where
something, yes, I
yeah.
realized something about this movie is that this is like a superhero movie for girls, where they get to fall in love with the superhero. And it's from the female point of view. And so
And the
it's
guy's
like,
point of view, they would love to have these powers.
exactly. If you flipped it, then maybe boys would like the movie. But this is a movie about a girl who feels, like she's in danger, and then this strong man comes in, he swoops in, and he saves her, he protects her. And there's actually a line in the film where I forget exactly how it goes, but she said something like, "Oh, what did you get bit by a radioactive spider or something? Or like, does kryptonite work on you?" Like she references superheroes. And I heard that line and I thought, this makes so much sense because in 2008, that was the year that Iron Man came out, and that was the year that The Dark Knight came out. This was
Ooh.
the height of superhero movies. Superhero movies were taking over the pop culture at this point.
Yeah, you'd had Spider-Man leading up throughout that whole time as well. It was definitely in the zeitgeist of all that. So her asking, "Did you get bit by something?" Yeah.
Exactly. And now you have this movie Twilight about a vampire who has super strength. He almost can fly. I mean, he can't really, but he does jump across the trees at one point, and it's like they're flying. He protects her, and he's not as scary as a regular vampire, He doesn't get burned by sunlight. So, and he sparkles. So it is like he has these superpowers. So I thought that's actually kind of fun. I was able to get into it from that angle watching it this time of like, I get it. It's actually kind of like this flip on a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after the push of the car, we get that aspect where you get to see, now this is the first time she's in the hospital, and then you get to overhear, the Cullens going like, "Hey, we don't wanna have to move again, that's gonna be a nightmare," and he's got the, "Did you just want me to let her die?" And I guess they're kind of like, "Yeah," because, they're really just like they're angry at him that he saved a high school person, even though, the father, Mike Dexter, his whole thing is to save people almost by any means because he's turned people into vampires to save them from death. Now, my thought is when, again, this is just another little nitpicky thing, but is this the only town when he's doctor that no one dies? Because, like, imagine, like, does he just turn everyone who comes into his thing with a terminal illness into a vampire? Because that's kind of what he did with Edward and the other people, and they basically say, like, "He saved our lives, he did this for us, now he's a doctor." Is that something he has to think about every single time? If Bella came in, got hit by a car, and she was about to die, would the father have turned her into a vampire? Or is he over that now, and he's like, "I've got too many kids, there's too many caps on the wall, like, I'll do what I can." Where did he draw
Yeah.
his line?
I think, I thought that was actually something I liked about the movie is the dad has this quality of being a really good guy. It's like he has mastered his desire for blood, and it seems like he did it a long time ago. I think in the second movie that I was watching earlier today, I think it's in the second movie, Bella actually asked him
How
about that.
long? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, it just takes a lot of practice. He's like, you just have to train yourself. So it's like he had the desire to do that, and then he actually did it, and now he's like the father of this family. He's a doctor. He seems like a good guy. So the way the movie frames it is these vampires, they're not so bad.
No,
Like they're
they're
actually
good.
not. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's my only point, that it's like, he
yeah.
turned Edward because he was a doctor at the time, and he didn't want Edward to die of cholera or something like that. I'm just
Mm,
saying, for
yeah.
100 years, has he been doing that with every terminal patient? Like, imagine, how many vampires are out there, or did he, in, like, the 1930s go, "Okay, no more. I've got enough kids," you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. Hazel was she loved the fact that he's actually a doctor, that she's like, wow, he can be around blood all day and he's
Oh,
not
yeah, he's
tempted,
mastered it, yeah.
Like, yeah. So yeah, she loved that.
Or who knows? Maybe that's what the blood drives are for, they're just like, he quickly runs to the closet and he's like, "Ooh."
He's secretly running into the back. He's
Exactly.
got He's got the IVs.
That's why he's a doctor. They should be doing that all the time. They should be doing, on like Thanksgiving we eat a lot or whatnot. They should have blood drives where it's just like the hose goes in one side, it goes underneath the chair, and Edward's just hiding there sucking on it,
Oh, to him, it's
At
like a
least for
Capri Sun.
yeah, at least for a treat, every once in a while.
Oh my god.
So after that, hey, did you want to just let me have her die, kind of, and then he has that little talk with her where she kind of in that little hallway where she's talking to him, and they have that they come to that thing of, well, nobody's gonna believe you anyway. You know what I mean? Like she's like, I
Right.
wasn't gonna say anything. They're getting their little trust thing,
Right.
and then he's pushing her away. I hope you enjoy disappointment, because you're not gonna. And that's their. It's a little interesting line. That's like a sitcom line between them. He's like, "You're not gonna drop this, are you?" And it cuts to the wide after cutting to the close up. Like, "You're not gonna drop this, are you?" And she's like, "No." And it's like they're becoming a little bickering couple there, which is interesting to see that dynamic. And then he's like, "Well, I hope you enjoyed disappointment." Oh, the man walks away. Oh, she's gonna want him more. It's all of that is interesting. Then she comes back to
Yeah.
school. The weird, I don't know if his name is Mike or whatever. That guy asked her to the prom. Um, then there's this field trip. Funniest part of the field trip to me, I mean, their dynamic is just still getting, push pull, push
Field
pull.
trip. Yeah.
They go to the guys like with all the they get on the bus and they go to the thing with all the plants, and the guy gets that little muddy plant thing. That's the field trip.
Right. Okay, yes. I remember.
Then there's
Yeah, and they're constantly talking, and her
they're
and
constantly
Edward
talking.
are
This is their,
talking. Yeah. Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah,
should we
yeah,
be
yeah.
friends? Should we not? I really don't think we should be friends." He said, "We should have thought of that earlier." It's so funny
Right.
how annoyed he's getting at her when she, like, moves slightly, and he's like, "Can you at least watch where you walk?" Like, it's just they're walking that's
Right.
it's it's a tension-filled, funny, quirky shit that you're talking about before that's just
Yeah,
kind of
exactly,
it
yeah.
weirdly works. It
Yeah.
all weirdly
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk. He's kinda mean to her. He's kind of like, what's the word? Like, antagonistic with her.
And that's what he says. He says, "I'm sorry I'm mean all the time, but I just don't think we should be friends," or whatever. She's like, "Well, you should have thought of that earlier."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but it's great 'cause exactly. It makes it more interesting again. The appeal for women, is you're not sure where this guy stands. He's always kinda changing a little bit, and it's exciting, and, this is part of the courtship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the next scene is the one that I always find this line, it always stands out, I always find it so funny in a good way, where the Eric character is like, "Hey, Bella, look, it's a worm. It's a worm." And he's got the worm on the stick. I don't know why that always makes me laugh.
Okay, this is what I forgot. This is one of my favorite elements of the movie, is how I thought Catherine Hardwicke did such a brilliant job of contrasting Edward against all the other boys. All these other boys seem like they're just immature idiots.
They're 6-year-olds, yeah.
Yes, they're wrestling with each other, they're awkward, they're insecure, they're shy, they don't know how
They're
to talk to
teenage
a
kids.
girl.
They're actual
Yeah,
teenage kids, and Edward's
they're
acting like, yeah, an older person.
Yeah, and you just feel that contrast throughout the entire movie. And what I realized is Bella clicks with Edward so much because she also has a maturity. That there is actually something really well written about this because she comes from this, like I said at the beginning, this family of hardship. She's a child of divorce, and she's new to this town. And you can tell that she has a kind of a shyness as well. And she's a little bit like uncertain about who she is, but there's a maturity about her. It's like she's experienced things that these other kids have not. She's been through pain. There's a pain to her character. And so she sees Edward and they click. It's like she doesn't want some goofball guy who's, holding worms and pulling down his pants. Like to her, that's ridiculous. Like she's more mature than that.
"Oh, look, it's a worm. It's a worm." I don't know
I
why it's
just
so
love,
funny to me.
yeah. There was another scene where she's talking to her dad in the diner and the boys are playing outside and you see them in the
Yes.
window.
We
Yeah,
missed that
yeah,
one because I wanted to talk about
yeah.
that scene to me, shot wise, is really interesting as well. It does feel like she's going after that Dogtown Z Boys and what she had in 13, kind of like documentary, handheld, wide angle feel. And in that, and I was just looking at this going like most other people, and especially in the sequels to this would just be filmed dolly shot over the shoulder, over the shoulder, over the shoulder. And this has like we're holding in this wide that's handheld. It just has this interesting feel. And the dynamic of like you're saying, seeing the kids outside while they're inside doing this. It's just again, it's a well thought out decisions were made as opposed to well, let's get this scene done, get all the coverage.
Right. Yeah, it only makes Edward's scene more appealing, as if he couldn't get any more appealing. It's like show how immature her fellow classmates are. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hazel is drawn to that too. She likes I think Hazel has always had a maturity about her as well, and she's drawn to more mature people. I'm a little bit older than her, so she was drawn to an older man in me. But I thought it was nice though because it shows that I think Bella is actually a great character too. That I think that might be underestimated in this movie. That people think, "Oh, it's about the vampires, it's Robert Pattinson, it's Edward," but what about Bella though? Bella, like the center of this whole movie, kind of gets overlooked. And I think Kristen Stewart as an actor and then Bella the character are both so great and they're so perfectly cast, so perfectly joined together, and you just feel all of this you feel these layers from Kristen Stewart, I feel like, in this movie. You feel like she's got a
Yeah.
certain coolness, there's a rock and roll element to her, there's a sadness to her, there's an intelligence to her, there's a nerdiness to her, but there's also this incredibly, like, social ability that she has. Like you said, when the other guy invites her to the prom, she doesn't just turn him down awkwardly. She says, "Oh, ask that other girl. The other girl will wanna go with you." So she's got
Right.
this
It's like, I
incredible
know she's gonna wanna go with you. Yeah, it's like
so Bella has a social intelligence that makes her an incredibly likable character, and she has, like, an elegance about her. When you see her, you think she comes from this, kind of middle-class family, her dad's the sheriff, but she is drawn to the Cullens. She's drawn into their world. They have this kind of high-class, elite, rich world. They dress so well, and they live in this glass mansion in the woods. And it's like she's drawn into that world because it feels like she's actually one of them. She fits with them. All of her qualities match with their qualities. And I really noticed that watching it this time. I thought that was great.
yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, but
No, I do.
yeah.
I really liked her. The first movie I think that I remember ever seeing her in was the one directed by Sean Penn with that I think Into the Wild, the Alexander Supertramp
Oh,
guy or
yeah.
whatever. When one of
Yes,
his little
yes.
journeys before he goes up to Alaska, he runs into her character who's like they're living or squatting in kind of like campers or something like that. And I think it was the
Right.
first thing I saw her, and she was a bit younger than this. That might have been late 1990. I can't remember when it came out, 99, 2001, 2000. I don't know when it was. But I remember
Yeah.
seeing her in this going like, wow, she's a really powerful young actress at the time. I don't know. I mean, she might have been 15, 16, something like that, or her character was playing around there. But I remember just going like, wow, she's a standout in this. And her acting was really good. I think a decent amount of the acting in that was really good. I think Sean Penn spent a lot of time with the actors because he was directing that one. And it was a performance that I go, "Oh, I'll remember her." And then, when I saw her on posters for Twilight again, I was just like, "Oh, well, not enough to have me go to see that yet." But I waited for again, DVD.
I was just watching this movie just so struck by her. I just thought, she has the most beautiful eyes. Her eyes are incredible. She has those cinematic eyes. It's like you just wanna look into them. Maybe I understand why, 107-year-old Edward would be so drawn to her. But I just thought she's just so beautiful, and she has these layers of emotion, and I just thought, yeah, it just makes so much sense why she became an A-list movie star, you know? Yeah, I really thought she was great in the movie.
Yeah. All right, so Bella does her research, she's back to school. When that's what they say, when the weather's nice, the Cullens disappear, right? Because they're sitting out there. But this is the first thing about the sunlight. So we're thinking sunlight as an audience as, oh, vampires can't be in sun because they're gonna burst into flames. That's the tropes that you're bringing into a vampire movie from an audience. That's what we're thinking. Um, then she goes out, the prom dress, the bookstore. Then we have somebody like I know you're not a Friday the 13th fan, but we have somebody watching through, these Jason, like this as Bella's walking around. There's this handheld, somebody's near me. Then somehow in their really nice town, there's just these like 4 rapists that come out of nowhere, and they have like 1 can
Yeah.
of beer. It's like this is great where it's like this is like the horror movie scene. Like I like that it goes into that trope. Every horror movie has like, okay, here's the 4 or 5 dudes that have had too much, and then it's like
Okay.
in this weird town, it doesn't really fit that these guys are going to be like raping her in the back, but it's really going for that. And then the Volvo. So
It's
then we
like
have the
the
Volvo.
real horror is the real men who are, regular men who are alive. That's the real horror. The
That's
vampire
the
guys,
threat.
they're actually, yes, they're not as scary. That's
No.
interesting.
And the funny part is, so Edward was supposedly kind of the one who was the Jason watching her, right? So he was doing that. And then just funny enough, it's I guess the Volvo, they have to do the thing with the Volvo because instead of Edward just like jumping out of a tree or coming there, he sees these weird guys doing this, quickly runs to his Volvo, turns on his car, and then flies around the corner in his Volvo. I do have to say though, the Volvo coming around the corner, as much of it's the Volvo coming around the corner, it does look cool. We've went down the roads, we've got this nice thing. He pulls up, he immediately gets out, and he's just like, Bella get in the car, does the fucking, a vampire thing of staring these guys down. They see, oh my God, there's something in him. We get to see her point of view looking up, not seeing the face of what's going on, sees these guys, you kind of backing off. The shot in the car when he drives at them, and it's like that low angle shot behind the knees with like a beer can still in there, and the car like almost hitting them is a nice one. Then I hope Bella had put on her seatbelt before end up bringing up the seatbelts because he flies back and like whips a backwards donut around so fast she would have flown through the window. And then great driving. He's been around 100 years. He's had his time working on the Model T, and then he probably had some really cool Mustang at one point.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's I know why you're driving fast because you have to just keep up something, but they're not driving from anything there. He's
Right,
just
right.
weaving in and out on both sides of traffic
Yeah, for the excitement. Yeah.
for God knows what reason. I mean, he's trying to get these images out of his head where he goes, "You don't know what they were, the repulsive things they were thinking." And she's, "What do you mean they were thinking?" And
Right.
they're back to their bickering and their little
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So then, then the waitress obviously flirting with him. So that kind of is interesting as well. That you get to pick up on the fact that not only all the girls in the school, but this random like waitress, everybody's into them. It makes sense later when he reveals himself and goes like, "I'm everything about me is designed for you to be kind of attracted to me. All of my things, it's all of my powers,
Yeah,
so
he
you'll
says
get
that,
close
yeah.
and I'll kill you." Um,
Right.
yeah, it's and you get to see that aspect of it. This is the first time you get to see and understand that he doesn't eat.
Yeah. I don't know if we should stop and talk about the sparkle scene, I mean, but I don't really think so. I just see it as like it's a structural thing. It's like in the middle of the movie they fall in love. It starts off, it's a romance. They it's introduced, these two characters who are attracted to each other. By the middle of the movie they love each other. She actually has a voiceover where she says, "I love him," right? And then it turns from there to, okay, now he has to protect her because now they're in love and there's the fun of like she gets to get out of the car and all the high school kids are looking at her and there's a kind of fun to that. But then pretty soon it starts turning to, oh, his life actually has problems. Like dating the vampire guy is maybe not as appealing as I thought it was because now my life is in danger and now I'm being hunted by these other crazy vampires.
That's one way to really jump over most of the film and get to the end. Yeah, okay, we could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's the baseball scene. You want to talk about the base?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was gonna say
Go
because
ahead.
you
Sorry,
mentioned if you wanted to talk
did I
about
skip
if you
too
wanted to talk
far?
the you skipped a lot there, but you said if you want to talk about the
Okay.
glowing, I know why the glowing's in there. The glowing's in there because Stephanie Meyer, the writer, actually, I watched an interview with her. She said she had a dream about them lying in a field that Dolly shot, and then this guy sparkling in the sunlight. This is what the whole movie came from
Oh,
that. So I
wow.
kind of think Catherine Hardwicke probably, uh, uh, you know, got that when talking to the writer and was like, okay, this is important. We've got to kind of keep this in here because they never keep it up for any of the other films. I think it is a little weird in this one, the sparkling aspect to it. I get it, but it doesn't have, like, continuity for the rest of it, and there's like, even my mom was sitting there going like, "What's happening?" Like, she was trying to look at, like, what because the effects aren't, like,
That's
perfect. They're not
great.
like diamonds that are perfect. It really is just like, "What is this? Is it scales? Is it this? Does it look like, there's a weirdness to it, but whatever.
I like it. You know what I would actually say is I think it's like from her point of view. It's like he sparkles because he's the one, because she's in love with him. That's how she sees him, right? It's an emotional thing, you know?
Yeah, let's go up through the cloud cover and find this one, over the rainbow spot, like a leprechaun sits there with a pot of gold with light shines just in this one area, and he knew it was gonna shine in that one area. I don't know. There's a little thing. I think a lot of the other stuff works.
Yeah.
That one, I'm always just like, "Okay, sparkle's gonna come for this is gonna last 35 seconds, we're gonna sparkle, and then we're gonna move on."
Also, I mean, in a movie where these 2 don't really kiss very much, the whole idea is that they're not supposed to be physical with each other. He's trying to
Right.
stay away from her. It's more about the emotion. It's more about the falling in love. And so that scene is elevated because of the sparkle, because instead of just making out or whatever, they can't have sex. In a traditional romance, that would have been the scene where they have sex for the first time.
Well, the sex for the first time is the make out on the bed, which is really,
Yeah,
really a good one
yes, but
shot.
he also pulls away. So there's
Right,
also
right, right.
like,
And they
yeah.
hold that for a while though, and there's a lot of tension, and then when he pulls away, you could see that she's, like, fired up. It's a very interesting sequence.
I think it's genuinely sexy. It's like during that part of the movie, I was like, wow, like this is a movie about high school
It's
kids, but like they're on the
yeah.
bed, she's half naked, she's in her underwear.
I mean, he's been around 107 years, the guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
yeah. So I thought the
the only thing I
sparkle
wanna say
worked.
before the
Okay.
baseball scene, because we're I really do like the scene when she goes in there to go to the Cullens to have the date for the first time, and they're making food for her, and they don't know how to make food. I find that, like, it's a really good thing. Then she was nice enough to go, "Well, I ate before because I know you guys don't eat," and then fucking Rosalie or whatever drops the thing, and she's fucking super pissed off, but she's pissed off for the reason that this could endanger us if anything happens to her, and they're like, "What do you mean anything happens to her?" "Oh, you mean if I become the meal, if they eat me." It's a nice, interesting dynamic back and forth. Jasper's a weirdo. It's a good it's a good,
Right.
interesting thing.
Right. That's
Okay, baseball.
okay.
Baseball,
Then
um,
Spider Monkey, yeah.
well, yeah,
I
Spider
wanted
Monkey
to
we've skipped
I
over.
actually wanted to ask you a question about that scene. One of
Go.
the shots that I thought was the most impressive was that
Was
final shot.
the final shot was actually a helicopter shot when it pulls
Okay,
away from
yeah.
them, or the one where the climbing up the tree one, I think was not a drone because they didn't have drones at the time. I honestly think that was camera on wires, and they were doing, the one that's dialing in from really far back, and then it pans to the left, and it goes down, and you see them coming up the tree really quick. That shot looks awesome. The final shot is actually like a real helicopter, because I don't think in 2008 they were using drones. I might be incorrect about that, but the wobble of it looked like it was out of a helicopter.
That's what I wanted to know, yeah, because it goes through this whole scene where they're climbing up the trees, and it's a fun sequence, and it ends with them standing at the very top of this
Yeah,
massively tall tree, looking over this
it's
lake or
very cool.
river, and it does this, yeah, this, like, spin around, and to me, it looked like 2 stunt people, because it shows
It
them
could
from
be, yeah.
behind, and I
Yeah.
wondered, I thought, Is that a real shot? Is that 2 real people
Oh, yeah,
standing at
yeah,
the top of
it's
this tree?"
definitely real people up there. Yeah, that wasn't,
You
like,
think it's
green
real?
screen. Yeah, I mean, there was no AI then, it definitely wasn't green screen.
That's
They
what I
put some
wondered.
people up there, yeah.
I said to Hazel, I was like, that's an incredible shot." I'm like, "How did
Oh, it
they get
is,
those
yeah.
people up there?" And she goes, "Oh, it's
They
probably
probably
just."
hired climbers and then b h on belay and then just tied them to the tree, and they're just standing there, yeah.
I wanna know the story of how they did that shot, because Hazel said, "Oh, it's probably just CGI." And I was like, "I
No,
don't think
definitely not.
so." I said, "I don't think so." I said, "That looks like 2 real people standing at
Yeah.
the top of that tree."
100%, especially
Yeah.
low budget, it's so much easier to get 2 fucking people who like climbing, throw them up there, spend $700 on the day instead of being like, "Let's take our movie and do CGI," which, there isn't, much besides the deer and a few other things inside this, the little speed up effects. Like, this isn't a huge CG
Right.
movie like they ended up becoming
No.
with, "Hey, we're gonna have giant dogs."
Yeah.
Okay. Baseball. Yeah, there's some silly stuff there, but it starts working. Them walking on treadmills, it actually works for me. Them low angle walking on treadmills really fast. Something about that is better than just actually having people just regularly walk. I think it was a decent effect. We completely missed the fact that when he's coming up behind her, I'm going back because dude, we're all over the place. There's when he's coming up behind her and and it's because she decides to, after doing the research, walk into the woods, and he's gonna follow her, and that's where she's gonna say, "You don't eat, you don't do this, you don't do whatever." That scene, I really like the way it was shot. It was like the close
Yeah.
up on them, but then it's like steady cam, and then it's weird Dutch angles, and you have this whole whirlwind of whatever. If I was in college, I would have been like, "This kind of looks like a mess," but the way that it works out, it draw again, the whole movie's consistent with that certain thing, and I don't know, that scene works when it kinda shouldn't work for me. Um,
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know, baseball. The
It's fun.
it's
It's
fun,
weird.
okay,
It's weird and fun, yeah. It's
weird
more of like a
fun,
transitional scene because it's like, okay, they're gonna go play baseball. You get to see super powered people play baseball. So it's kind of fun.
and you need an excuse to find those 3 people, the 3 other weirdos, the bad people.
Right, they're out far away from civilization, and you don't realize that that's actually dangerous, and so when the other 3 people come, it's like there's this turn of like, "Oh, we were all" and the contrast too of like, we're having complete fun, we're totally carefree, and then all of a sudden, danger, and so it's just like this 180-degree turn.
Yep, and this is the callback to the first scene where she met Edward because the wind comes up and they have the close up on her hair again getting
Right.
blown,
Ah,
and
that's
then you
right.
have, the guy who smells, the
That's right.
tracker. We've got Mr. Tracker over here.
There at the beginning, it led to love, but here it's gonna be the reverse, it leads to danger.
And again, with the weird danger thing, basically, Edward says the reason he wants to track you is because he can tell how much I'm into you and it'll weirdly torture me. Like, there's a weirdness there where
Right.
James is gonna get turned on by fucking over this snack that's Edward's, because Edward read
Yeah.
his mind and saw this just became the biggest game for him because it's not just about her. And he didn't have the same, like, love, passion, smell for her, but he had this weird connection of like, "Ah, you really like that girl. I'm gonna fucking fuck her over." Like, there's some deep-seated fucking thing with the James character that he's gonna figure out.
Yeah, there's like this rivalry between the vampires that, like you said, some of them go to high school for 100 years, some of them just go and kill people for 100 years, so they gotta spend their
Right.
time doing something. I just realized it's more than just danger, actually. It actually leads to death. That there's this connection between, like, the sex and the death and the love and the death. At the beginning, the wind blows, Edward gets her scent, and it leads to love, which is kind of like leading to life. It leads to, like, this freedom, like an awakening. And then it's mirrored at the end where it's now gonna lead to death or potential death. Like, you're gonna have to face death, and your love is now gonna be in jeopardy at the worst it ever is in the entire film. And so the contrast between those 2 is actually as extreme as it possibly could be.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That is nice.
what were you gonna say?
I mean, we just gotta jump to the fact that, okay, they're gonna chase, they're gonna run away. The Laurent guy, I find it interesting that he's kind of like the nice guy who goes, "Hey, I'm gonna warn you about James when he's back at the house." First of all, Laurent, why were you hanging out with this Victoria James people? They seem fucked up compared to the way that you are with being like a nice dude. And not in my 300 years have I whatever the fuck. Um, Okay, what makes no sense about the end of the movie is they all split up, and he's like, "Here, you need to run away. We'll lead the tracker over here through these smells. They're gonna wear your clothes and do this." Obviously, they figure out that that's not working. Somehow she gets to like Arizona, which is halfway across the country. Then the whole I'm taking a video camera. I'm stealing your mom's thing. Whatever the fuck. You're gonna go meet at the school. Now I'm gonna weirdly torture you. Finally, when Edward and them they find out very soon that like, "Oh, no, the guy's coming, okay," and in, like, 5 seconds, they go from Washington State to Arizona, and they're there at the, like, the school thing, they get inside, and then they just immediately, very quickly, are just like as soon as they get together as a pack, they're just like, "Okay, it's a day at the office. let's just rip his head off. Like, it was so easy for them to just rip his as soon as they got all 4 of them together or 3 of them together, it was like, "Yep, business as usual, grab his arm, okay." Girl comes up, twists head off, "Okay, we know how to build a fire, we do this every day." You should have just stayed in Forks at your house, waited for the guy to come, and then the 4 of you just ripped his arms off and burned him in the woods there. So I get the Hollywood thing, the movie thing, we've gotta do the whole ending. It works. I'm just saying on a repeat viewing, you're like, "Why the split up didn't need to happen." That was a very bad
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But you need it for the drama
You know what I loved about, that ending, though, is that it takes place in her old ballet studio, which
with
is
all
a
the
room.
mirrors.
Yes, it's a room full of mirrors. So to me, this was like the end of Enter the
Enter
Dragon.
the Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, I actually loved this.
My mom said some other one at the time. Fuck, what would she say? She was the it doesn't matter. Keep going. She mentioned another one that, uh
This is like a room of illusion. And I loved how she heard her mom's voice and she went toward it, and then she opened the glass, or she opened the door, and then it was a video. So it's the illusion of, like, you think your mom is there, but she's not. This room is tricking you. It's playing tricks on you, and you have to navigate your way through this. And at this point, she's completely alone. The vampires are not here to protect her. And so she's as helpless as she could possibly be. She's in the most danger that she could possibly be, and she's in a room that's playing tricks on her. I thought the room was actually, like, essentially her mind, you know?
Mhm.
And this is what I loved actually about the movie, is it ties back to what I was saying at the beginning about how she's a child of divorce. She's actually very sad. She has all this pain. And so she goes into a room that's her old ballet studio. This is her childhood. This room represents her childhood. And she has to, basically heal from her past trauma in order to love Edward. Like, to win Edward's love, she has to be willing to sacrifice everything. She has to be willing to die, and she has to face her past trauma and, not repeat her parents' mistake. Her parents got divorced, so they set a bad example for her in love. So this is a girl where does she even know how to love? And so in order for her to love and have a successful relationship with Edward, she has to face her past trauma and somehow overcome it. And this entire ending and this whole room and the location and everything represents that. And then Edward has to do the same when he's sucking on her blood, and he has to not have he has to summon the will to let go, actually, and so it's like they both have to do it together. They both have to prove their love, and they have to earn the love. Now their love is tested on both sides, and they both have to overcome their deepest fear and win love. And that's what they both do.
That's the ending that you get for Twilight, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe one day we'll do New Moon. But, yeah, there was more to say, but there's just no time, and we ran through the ending, and I think that was a good cap for that. We never get the fact that Jacob got back, that whole thing. There's a lot of little things. But, ladies and gentlemen, all right, we've got a few seconds here. We have to cut off for the 2 hours.
I just want to say I love you to Hazel. I never thought that I would marry a Twilight girl when I was watching Twilight in 2008. I didn't think that my future wife would be a super fan of this film, but I'm so glad I did because she changed my life. I love her with all my heart, and Hazel, this one goes out to you. Hope you enjoyed it.
See you next week.
They don't chase clout, they just chase the lore. Dig scenes that the mainstream ignores, where light fights dark in a fabled war. Yeah, the truth gets told when the movie's born. I'm the break in the flicker, the cut in the edit, the blade through the credits, a frame they embedded. Light in the distance, persistence poetic. The dark is a prison, I brighten with aesthetic. No stunt doubles, I tumble through trap fights. The scripts in my soul, I control when my track spikes. Whisper in a reel, I reveal with a black light. The dark is a canvas that I carve with a flashlight. Call it a war cry, cinematic spark. Puzzle in the shadows, a code of the art. It's Andrew and Greg and the legacy embarks. Our voices ignite and we light up the dark.
I heard a story about him that I liked in real life that he was telling where there was a super fan who kept hanging out of like his London apartment or something for like a couple weeks, and instead he just he went down there finally. Instead of like calling the cops or saying go away, he said, "Okay, let's like go out to dinner," and he just bored the fuck out of her. And she literally just got over him because of how boring he was. Because he took away the
Yeah.
mystique of like, there's just no Edward, there's just no giant movie star. He's like, I'm just a fucking boring dude. And like he just went out and just like bitched about his problems for like 3 hours at this
Yeah.
like fucking dinner with the girl. And she's just like totally over it. She's like, got it. Okay, you're a fucking nightmare. And it's like it was a very cool thing for him to untrance this other human. Like, hey, I'm not some big Edward fucking obsessed with you, whatever. I'm a fucking somebody who's gonna just bitch about my life to you, and you're just gonna, all right, I'm done with him. Like the mystique is gone.
I'm just a neurotic actor. I'm just a self-absorbed neurotic actor.
He's
Like,
like, I'll show you that
yeah.
side of me, and you'll be
Yeah,
done with
yeah.
it.
Like, yeah, how about that? Is that appealing to you? Hazel told me that story too, and I thought that was genius. I'm like, there's nothing that makes you more unappealing than just complaining about your life for 2 hours.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna turn anybody off. I don't care. A guy could be attracted to the hottest woman and then just be like, well, no, he'd still go home and have sex with her, but
Right.
yeah, I
You
don't know if it
just
works the other way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
just the guy, yeah, you just wouldn't call her afterwards.
Exactly. He'd finish
Yeah,
the night. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So Bella does her research. She's back to
Good
school.
lord.
Um,
Rain on the screen in a darkened room. Green light dancing like a fevered moon. 12 years old with my heart breaking now. Something in me woke up now. I was a little girl in China, learning my body, learning desire. Watching Bella move north in the rain. First day, Forks High, smiling through the pain. Then I saw him across the room, pale as snow, eyes like night. Cold hands, cool distance, holding back with all his might. I didn't want the boy who chased me, didn't want the sun or heat. I wanted danger wrapped in diamonds, a deadly love that shows restraint. He could hurt me, I could tell, but he kept the monster tight. Every look felt like a fire, burning me up inside. Bite my fear, take my breath, make this mortal girl ignite. I don't want sun or endless night, I want the in-between, I want twilight. I don't want forever unless it's with you. Teach me who I am somehow, and you can live forever. What do you live for? Forever begins now. Forever begins now. I watched the years unfold in chapters, watched myself grow with the screen. I chose Edward every single time, never understood the Team Jacob thing. My friend loved dark with hair all over, said the wild ones make you feel alive. But I wanted cold and self-controlled, a love that waits and never dies. I wanted teeth in velvet darkness, a promise whispered, never loud. I wasn't waiting, I was breathless, a fate written in my blood. He could hurt me, I could tell, but he kept the monster tight. Every look felt like a fire, burning me up inside. Bite my fear, take my breath, make this mortal girl ignite. I don't want sun or endless night, I want the in-between, I want twilight. I don't want in America. First face I ever chose. Tall and quiet, he says, "Hi, I'm Andrew." Smiles like he already knows. Not a vampire, but listen close. Pale skin, a cold and guarded soul. Emotion locked behind his eyes. A heart that burns under control. I flew home and came back to see him. More than just a simple fling. In line at Disneyland, he asked me, "Me and you, let's do this thing." I laughed, took his hand and said, "You need